Hey, this is Joanna Berger. I know I've been very blonde and plainer looking in the other videos on this channel so far, but I also haven't made very many videos for my channel. And I have recently dyed my hair pink, and I thought that that would look pretty exciting and interesting for you to look at while I talk to you about parrot behavior. And I know that I like to watch YouTubers who have funky style and cool things to look at while I'm watching their videos. So I hope you enjoy. And I'm here outside and just wanted to say a few things about parrot training and enrichment before I lose the light. And you can hear some birds in the background, just the wildlife. So right now I'm running a competition on Twitter called Pumpkins for Parrots. So if you use the hashtag pumpkins for parrots, and it's all spelled out, you can submit a photo or video or even a GIF of your birds enjoying pumpkin, because pumpkins are nutritious and safe for parrots to eat, and they also make really good toys. Many pumpkins can be used like little toy balls by medium-sized or large parrots. They can be held, manipulated, thrown, and can be really fun that way. Plus they can be chewed up and eaten. Very large pumpkins are great for medium to large parrots to chew on, and for smaller parrots to climb on. So you can have a tiny pumpkin for your tiny bird, and they like a cockatiel or a budgie could use that as a perch, or if they're very confident, they could even perch on a large pumpkin. I've already had some brilliant submissions from parrots of all different species. We've had African greys. Actually, I don't think we've had any Timnas yet. We've had some really strong contenders from Congo African greys who are really enjoying chewing up their pumpkins and peeling them and eating them. And we've also had submissions from an Amazon, a Kayik, a very brave little budgie who loved eating a pumpkin that was cut open so that that budgie could see the seeds. Some cockatiels have gotten in on the fun, and they've been climbing on pumpkins. There was even one picture of a cockatiel perched on a toy pumpkin, and famous sorry, I got a little problem there. The famous cockatiel Alex the Honk has submitted a picture of a plastic pumpkin with millet inside, saying that in where they live it's hard to get pumpkins, so they did their best with a toy pumpkin, which is also fine. But I really like real pumpkins for parrots because they can chew them for a really long time. It allows them to express a lot of natural foraging behavior. So that action with the beak, tearing little pieces and feeling that and hearing the sounds of chewing out the pumpkin, it allows them to eat in a very naturalistic way, because when parrots are in the wild, they do eat food items like large mangoes or other fruits that are even bigger than they are. So the account Parrot of the Day has been sharing some beautiful photos. So if you look at Parrot of the Day, they have shared lots of photos of parrots in the wild in their natural habitats, and many of those show parrots doing their natural eating behavior, which can be hanging upside down off of a branch to chew into a fruit or other food that is as big as their body. And the nice thing is that pumpkins are available for sale at this time of year. So Halloween is coming up, and I know, especially where I live in the US, pumpkins are available in a lot of stores and they're pretty inexpensive. You can get a small pumpkin for like 99 cents at some stores, and large ones aren't too expensive either. So I definitely encourage you to try giving a pumpkin to your parrot. And then if you'd like to join the contest on Twitter, you can take a photo, video, or make a GIF of it and hashtag it Pumpkins for Parrots. And if you tag me in it, I'm Joanna Berger, MSc, which stands for Master of Science. So I'll put that in the description of this video so you have that information. I am giving away a handmade natural perch that I made that's parrot safe to whoever wins the contest, and I'm judging just whoever has my favorite submission. And the really great thing that's been happening with this contest is I'm seeing a lot of people are giving pumpkins to their parrots for the very first time, and it's great to see parrots exploring a brand new enrichment item. The issue that may come up then is if a bird has never seen a particular item before in its life, that item is going to be frightening. Parrots are a neophobic animal, which means that they are afraid of new things. Neo means new and phobic means fear of, so fear of something new. So that's something that's been published in parrot behavior papers, talking about in scientific parrot enrichment studies. Often the researchers will put a new toy in a parrot's environment and then leave it there for at least a day, sometimes longer. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, and then wait until the parrot approaches that new item on their own and interacts with it on their own. What you don't want to do is take a large pumpkin and just like stick it in your parrot's cage all of a sudden, or right in your parrot's personal space. Because if you imagine that my hand here is a pumpkin and it's coming like right in your face really suddenly, that is frightening. So a better way to do it is to have the bird in their own time approach the pumpkin more gradually, so that is not frightening your bird. A great way to do this is to have a bunch of small treats. I know parrots are all different sizes depending on their species, so tailor this to your own bird's size and personal likes. But for example, if you have a green-cheeked conure, which is a smallish bird, you can have a stick of millet, and about 2 little millet seeds are adequate as a treat for that bird. If you have a budgie, just 1 single tiny seed that you pull off of the stalk of millet would work well as a training treat. And then you get a pumpkin, stick it at the opposite side of the room and away from your bird, so your bird has plenty of space and can see the pumpkin just off in the distance. And then if your bird looks at the pumpkin, you go over to your bird and give them a piece of millet, just a little tiny treat. Every time your bird looks at the pumpkin, give them a treat. What you're doing there is positive reinforcement. You are rewarding the behavior of looking at the pumpkin, and we're rewarding your bird for calmly looking at the pumpkin. So we're reinforcing that calm behavior that is directed towards the pumpkin. So that what happens is we're teaching the bird through desensitization and counter conditioning that a pumpkin is not scary anymore. So it's being paired with a delicious treat. So the parrot's looking at this new item that looks unfamiliar and is therefore frightening. And what you're doing as the bird's guardian is giving them something really delicious, so that they're making the association, oh, when I look at this strange orange ball object that I don't know anything about, I get a really tasty treat. And so something really nice happens whenever I look at this. And so we're teaching that association between looking at the scary pumpkin, seeing it, and then getting that delicious treat, so it becomes a positive experience, or at least a neutral experience, and it's no longer frightening. And then once your parrot is reliably looking at the pumpkin, and like 10 times within a minute, you see your parrot glance in that direction, and you're giving a treat every time. That's why you want to use a small treat, because you do want to be able to give the treats quickly and repeat that multiple times, and we don't want your birds getting too full. And so once you have done many repetitions rewarding the bird for looking at the pumpkin, what you'll do next is reward your bird for any movement towards the pumpkin. So if your bird is walking in the direction of the pumpkin, and you'll see how your room is set up, whichever direction that pumpkin is the direction that your bird is going to be rewarded for heading. So if the bird walks in the direction of the pumpkin, or even leans towards it, like maybe they're just trying to look more closely now that they've had this positive association start with the treats, they're thinking, I'm really a lot more interested in this and it doesn't seem as bad, so I'm just gonna lean and like really look at it. Reward that, and then maybe they'll take a step towards it, and you would reward that with the treat. And this process can go very quickly, or it can take a few weeks. So you want to go at your bird's own pace. We don't want to rush things so that we're stressing the bird out, but we also do want to keep things moving smoothly in the direction of moving towards the pumpkin. So the bird, eventually you're going to be rewarding larger movements. So like instead of just rewarding one step, you'll wait until your bird takes 2 steps and then give them their treat. And that's called shaping. So we're gradually building up from first giving the treat just for looking at the pumpkin. We are raising our criteria in a stepwise fashion, so that we are building up a behavior of moving all the way to the pumpkin. And it's ideal if you can do this either across a counter where your bird already likes to be, or across a safe, expansive floor, maybe laying down a an old sheet, so that your bird can easily walk across the floor to get to the pumpkin, if your bird has clipped wings. Otherwise, we can definitely reward flying to the pumpkin. So you would build this up from looking at, walking or leaning towards, and then flying towards, rewarding the flight, because birds exist in a 3-dimensional space. So unlike dogs, we can reward them as they move towards new objects at various levels. And then then eventually your bird will get to the pumpkin, and they will have gotten to the pumpkin on their own, in their own time, but it's been accompanied by all these delicious rewards, yummy treats. If your bird doesn't like millet, you can use pistachio pieces, or some birds really like pomegranate seeds. Some birds prefer like a very small little tiny piece of apple. There's an almost infinite number of treats you can use. If they really like their pellets, you can use pellets as rewards. If they really like nutriberries, you can even break those up into pieces and give those as little pieces as treats. You kind of need to work with your bird to choose the reinforcer that they like the most. That is something that is small that you can easily give to them. If your bird is not used to being hand-fed, some people have great success using a like wooden skewer and spearing a nut onto a wooden skewer and then delivering the treat that way. That's especially good for macaws that are prone to biting, and other birds that might nip your fingers and cause a lot of injury to you if you move your fingers too close to them, which is something I might address in another video. But you can also deliver treats using a spoon or a cup, or you can even just drop treats carefully into your bird's dish. And your bird can go to the dish, get them, and that'll take a tiny bit more time because you won't be giving it directly to their mouth, but that still will work. So they can take a few steps towards the pumpkin and then go get food from a bowl or dish as their reward. Another good thing that often works well as rewards is very plain popcorn that's been popped without any oil, no salt, no seasonings, just plain popcorn. You can break that up into little pieces and use that as training treats. So use something that your bird really likes, because we want it to be something that they're going to love and associate with the new strange orange thing. Other options include you can cut up the pumpkin and you can show them the seeds. Birds tend to like the pumpkin seeds. Those are nutritious and fine for them to eat. They have a decent number of calories in them, so you don't want to overfeed pumpkin seeds, especially if you are if your bird has issues with being overweight, but a couple of pumpkin seeds is nutritious. It's fine for them to have, and it is totally safe. You can also, but yeah, that's something that I've been hearing on Twitter has been working well for people, is cutting open the pumpkin so their parrot can see the seeds and understand that this is food. And it's like, and that's what's so fun about them is when they are whole, the pumpkin has to be chewed in order for the parrots to get to the seeds, and that's a very natural foraging behavior, which is really good, and it's a great way to occupy your bird's time, keep your bird occupied, so that they spend all this time chewing through the pumpkin rind and flesh to get to those yummy seeds, and instead of doing unwanted or abnormal behaviors like feather picking, chewing at their own bodies, or repetitive behaviors. And I'll hopefully be making more videos talking more about those if you don't know what those are. But basically, there's only so much time in the day. If a parrot can spend a lot of the time each day chewing something that is safe for them to chew and is nutritious for them, like a pumpkin, then they'll have less time where they'll be bored or getting into mischief that you don't want. So it's a great way to keep them occupied and happy. Other things that people have said have worked well for them is cutting a tiny piece out of the pumpkin, giving that to their bird first, especially if your bird has never seen anything that's bright orange like a pumpkin. There are pumpkins of different colors that you might be able to find for sale. You can try finding like a lighter yellow if your bird is more used to seeing yellow toys or foods. That might work better. But to introduce them to the color orange for the very first time, a small chunk of pumpkin might be just perfect, and then let them explore that first. And once they've started playing with that small piece and chewing on it, they will be able to work their way up to enjoying larger and larger pieces. So start with this. So again, we're kind of building up to like this whole large, more intense pumpkin experience by starting very small and then gradually building it up. And again, that's another way to do desensitization, and starting with a smaller piece and then a bigger piece until you can get to an entire pumpkin. You can also do what some people have done is cut the pumpkin open and actually cook it so that it's soft. If your bird has never had raw vegetables, that can be a way to get them at least a little bit interested. But I know I was reading Dr. Scott Stahl's website the other day. He's a bird veterinarian, and he recommends feeding raw vegetables. So a raw pumpkin is ideal, but I know some birds for some reason have trouble with the raw pumpkin, at least at first, so cooking it might be a way to start, at least for short term, and getting them interested in it. Other things I've seen already are bird owners putting pumpkin seeds in different foraging toys and getting their birds having fun and foraging that way. And there's a million things you can do. You can cut it up into all different shapes. One picture that I love is a parrot sanctuary that carved a pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, and then their parrots went inside and peeked out through the holes and had a whole adventure inside the pumpkin and got to chew it from all directions. And you can just get really creative. Some people have been tying them and having them as like hanging toys, so you can tie a string, or you can stick it onto a stainless steel skewer. Is a great, if you have one of those stainless steel skewers that attaches to the bird's cage, you can just impale the pumpkin on that. But the I guess most important thing is not to suddenly put it right close to your bird, because that might frighten them. Just kind of build up to it. And I think it would be cool to stick pieces of pumpkin through slots in a cage so that they act as shelves and perches. There's a really cute photo that was submitted of a conure who was standing on top of a large pumpkin and looking down at it and using it as a perch. It's fine for birds to chew on the stems, and there's been some cute pictures of birds chewing pumpkin stems. So the whole pumpkin is safe, and I do encourage you to try it out. It's great enrichment, especially in the fall, and it's really fun for Halloween to let your birds have a pumpkin party. So the hashtag pumpkins for parrots contest is on Twitter this month. It ends at the end of October on Halloween. I'll announce the winner, but I hope to repeat this next year. So if you end up getting a pumpkin later on, once they go on sale after Halloween, you have a whole year to introduce your parrots to this new toy and new type of food, and then you'll be all set to compete next year in what I think will become an annual parrot pumpkin carving contest. So thank you for watching this, and good luck introducing your parrots to delicious and fun, nutritious pumpkins. Happy Halloween.